Rookie draft season is in full swing and ADP is going absolutely wild. So I brought my buddy Ant in here to break down a 4-round draft into 9 different tiers, help you understand how to make the most value out of your rookie picks. Let's get into it. All right, Anthony, these rookie drafts are absolutely off the charts. There is chaos, a real lack of consensus after some really wild landing spots. So we're going to jump into things here. We have a typical 4-round, 48 pick super flex draft broken down into 9 different tiers. The goal here of this exercise is to help you understand value ranges. And then within the tier ranges, Anthony and I are going to identify our favorite players, our players we feel are overvalued and you should avoid. So just to give an overall kind of, just a feeling of the landscape and where you can get the most value. Anthony, I know you've done a couple drafts already. What's your just general sense this year drafting compared to the past couple of years?
The early feel is like the top 3 picks are chalk, and then the next like 5 are kind of the same in some sort of order, and then it's drunk. Like
And
then it's like
just and then it is
chaos.
just like it is off. So let's go ahead. Let's get into that first tier. I agree with you. And before we get into the tier, I just want to emphasize here, we have broken down these tiers into the ADP that we're seeing, like where we think these players are going to go. This is not our ranking tiers, but we'll talk about our favorite players within the tiers themselves. So the 101 to 103 here, it's looking like Caleb Williams. It's looking like Marvin Harrison Jr. And then to my surprise, I think only one other top quarterback has gotten into this tier, and it's Jayden Daniels at 103. And I'll say, Ant, personally, Jayden Daniels isn't my QB2. He's a really close QB3. But would you agree, it seems like consensus is that Jayden Daniels is locked into that 103 slot?
Yeah, that feels like consensus right now. I haven't seen him slip past there yet. He's been in any drafts I've done, he's been QB2 off the board. And they've all one draft, I should say, that I've been in hasn't started with Caleb. It started with Marv and then went Caleb. But everything I've done has been Caleb, Marv, Jayden so far.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's just, is it the anti-JJ McCarthy pre-draft? Is the landing spot just that good for Jayden Daniels? Or do you feel like it almost seems like Jayden Daniels, it just feels safer, just a safer bet overall there at that 103?
I think that's how consensus views it. It's not how I view it. I don't know if that's how you view it.
Absolutely correct.
It's not how I view it. I like the landing spot better for McCarthy. For NFL purposes, like long term, I like McCarthy more than I like Jayden Daniels. I think people it's fantasy football. We know everybody loves and chases the rushing upside. McCarthy's more mobile than he gets credit for.
Yeah, he's got the rushing upside.
Yeah, he might not be Jayden Daniels, but I get people taking Jayden Daniels at 103. If it was me and I had 103, I don't know. I'd see if I could slide down a couple spots and pick up something else.
All right. The last point I'll make here in the 101 to 103 tier, you mentioned you have seen some Marvin Harrison Jr. over Caleb Williams. We've gotten that question a ton in the Rookie Big Board Discord. If you feel so inclined, I say you are absolutely within the realm of value to take Marvin Harrison Jr. over Caleb Williams. I'm taking Caleb Williams, 8 out of 10 times over Marv, but, I would definitely mix up that exposure if I had 10 101s, which of course I don't, because we win leagues here. But you never know. You got the orphan, you have the occasional, rebuild roster. All right, and let's get into a tier that it's a little bit more wide open, and it's creating some real value of your first round picks. So for me, 104 to 108 is the next tier range breakdown. And again, this isn't necessarily in ranking order, but JJ McCarthy, Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, and Drake May. I would say from pre-draft, I expected it to be 101 to 104. Drake May is the faller, in my opinion, to get from this tier. Just a general lack of trust in the Patriots offense. And I've actually seen Drake May go 109 in the Superflex, 108. So would you agree he's the biggest surprise, pre-draft to post-draft?
I'm shocked people are so down on it. Like
Yeah.
I'm shocked people are so down on the Drake May landing spot. We've talked about this a few times on the Dynasty show, and I know you and I have talked about this where I don't really think Drake May is as raw as some other people do, but I think that the Patriots do give him that, situation where they can afford to let him sit for a little bit. Um, at 108, 109, it's downright theft. I mean,
Yeah.
Drake May, from a pure quarterback perspective, to me, is still the second best quarterback in this draft class.
Yeah.
Talent wise, he's the second best thrower of the football in this draft class. And people are down on it because of the Pats landing spot. If you could take Drake May at 108, 109, take it and laugh all the way to the bank. Honestly, maybe it takes half a season, maybe it takes a full season, but this time next year, you'll be happy. I was happy about taking him, 105, 106. I thought that was a value, but now
Yeah.
that it's at 108, 109, it's like house money.
I completely agree. It's a situation for me where he did slide down in my rankings, but
Mhm.
it's still a really good spot to be in if you can take him at 107, 108. The other thing that I think that defines this tier is, let's put JJ McCarthy aside for now, because we talked about JJ McCarthy. I've already done a video about how JJ McCarthy's my QB2. So, I encourage you to check out that video if you want to get into it. But let's put him aside. Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. What we're looking at with those three guys are a ton of talent, but for different reasons, some challenges in their landing spots, right? Malik Neighbors, not getting, I don't think there's a lot of confidence behind him catching balls from Daniel Jones. There's Brock Bowers, who people are needlessly freaking out about for that
Yeah.
Raiders landing spot. And then there is, Roma Dunze, who I think long-term, most folks agree is in a really nice spot, but we'll have to battle for targets. Out of those three guys, who are you trying to get the most exposure to?
Of those three, who I'm trying to get the most, like in an ideal world, the most exposure to is Malik Neighbors, just because I still believe in the talent most of the three. Like
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors to me is still the gap between Marv and Malik Neighbors to me was never big. So like obviously the landing spot is big.
Yeah.
And Marv's in a much better situation with a much better quarterback than Malik Neighbors is. But who's to say we don't know what Malik will have next year, you
True.
know?
True.
But all three of them is like, people are super freaked out about Brock Bowers. You're freaked out about the wrong Raiders tight end. Okay. You should be freaked out about Michael Mayer.
Oh, pour one out for Michael
Yeah,
Mayer.
we love
Oh,
Michael Mayer, but Brock Bowers is going to be just fine. Minshew is going to feed Brock Bowers in the middle of the field this year. He's going to eat. And Rome, maybe Rome has a lot of the JSN vibes from last year. Great player,
yes. Yes.
good landing spot, just competition for targets ahead of him. So, like, he'll have his work cut out for him with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen ahead of him. But next year, when it's Caleb throwing to, Rome and DJ Moore, things open up a whole lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the Rome to JSN comparison, I think, is really apt there. He's going in a really similar spot. You could have gotten JSN 107, 108 last year. The difference is that gives Rome, I think, a nice little advantage over it is, he's not coming in with a quarterback that already has chemistry with the other wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's got a really carved out role, right? Like he's
Yeah.
playing along the boundary. For JSN, there was always the question about, where does Lockett go? Where does he go? How do you get JSN on the field? Rome, he's on the boundary. Allen's in the slot. Moore's on the other side. You have to think with Caleb Williams, they're going to be playing in at least, a healthy amount of 3 wide receiver sets. So there's really not a bad pick in this range. It sounds like a cop out. I'm getting JJ the most. I'm going to get a lot of Brock Bowers as well, but I want some Malik. I want some Rome, and I'll take some Drake May as well. All right, this is where the draft starts.
Yep.
109 is really where the draft starts, and things get to be wide open. There's going to be a decent amount of variety here, but I do think that we've nailed down the general players that are going to go from the back end of the first into the early second. We're talking about 109 through 202. Xavier Worthy goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Brian Thomas Jr. is linked up now with Trevor Lawrence. You got Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver one, behind Josh Palmer for the Los Angeles Chargers. Bo Nix, baby, goes to the Denver Broncos. And then you have Keon Coleman to the Buffalo Bills. And I'm sneaking in the first running back here, Jonathan Brooks. I'm seeing Jonathan Brooks go as late as, or as early, I should say, as the 111, the 112. But it seems like 202, 203 is just about his floor. So these 6 guys are it's a lot of talent. It's a lot of fantasy potential from this group here. Who jumps out to you?
So the first thing for me is that like 109 is the trade out spot for me. I
Yeah.
like Xavier Worthy, but this tier is all like kind of lumped so close together that if somebody loves Xavier Worthy and I can slide down just a few spots or even to the top of round 2 and pick up another 2, like round 2 is crazy to me. There's just so much talent that's
Yeah.
kind of stacked
So
that
good.
we'll get to. But so if I'm in 109, I'm comfortable trying to move out of that. The guys that I'm trying to get most in this range are honestly like I want a lot of Lad. I want a lot of Lad McConkey.
Yeah.
And like the 3 are probably Lad McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., and Bo Nix. And
Bo Nix.
I wasn't even a Bo Nix guy. I
Yeah.
really wasn't. But at 111, 112, if you need a quarterback in Superflex, look, Bo Nix is not gonna lose this camp battle.
No.
If there is one to Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and who else is there? Ben DiNucci, I think. Like Bo Nix is playing in a Sean Payton offense, and for better or worse, like we're getting at least a year of production. You know what I mean? So if you need a quarterback in Superflex, I took Bo Nix at 111 in a league earlier today, and I didn't think I'd be there. I didn't think I'd be in this position a couple weeks ago, but yeah, those are probably the 3 I'm coming away most with. Keon Coleman's interesting because I
Yeah.
think that's the guy if I'm at 109 and I can slide back to like 201, I'd love to trade out of 109, let somebody else pay the price for Xavier Worthy and take Keon, a couple picks later at the top of round 2 or something like that and try and net another pick where I can add somebody else.
I think you hit on it here, right? A big part of this episode, why we're doing this, is we're trying to break down the value ranges, right? So if you're sitting there at 109, 110, somebody in your league is eager to come up and get the guy that they want, take, you go from 110 to 201 and then you pick up the 207. That's boom, that's money, right? That's
Mhm.
value. You move back from the 109 to the 202, you pick up the 205. Like, you pick up a 2025 second, even like this is, you have an opportunity as long as you're staying within this range. I think you're getting a player at very similar value, and a lot of people I've noticed are very locked in on Xavier Worthy at 109. I like
Mhm.
Xavier Worthy. I like the landing spot, but I don't like that combination so much that I wouldn't trade back to 201, 202 to pick up some extra draft capital. As we go through this episode, we're going to be talking about a lot of depth, and you're going to want every chance you can get to pick up an extra piece or two along the way. So, and before we jump into the next tier here, I just want to encourage folks, if you have questions that are specific to your roster. It's so hard to, it feels so general. All the advice we're giving as detailed as we can. If you have any questions about your roster, drop it in the comment of the videos. We would love to talk through it, help you out here. But if you want in-depth, detailed, accurate rankings, if you want personalized advice 24/7 via the Rookie Big Board Discord, if you want access to our 110-page rookie guide updated with 2024 seasonal projections on every rookie, you can head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard and check out all of that for just $5 a month. It'll help you get ahead of your league mates. It's going to help you win rookie draft season. So now, with that being said, this tier, I feel like we're starting to get into some real value points, because I think most folks are really excited about the names up to 202, but
Mhm.
there's still a ton of value at this range. And this is where, we mentioned it talking about the last tier, you may get people just willing to throw in some extra picks and throw away some value in this range. So we're looking at it here, starting with pick 203, Trey Benson, AD Mitchell, Michael Penix Jr., the future Falcons starting quarterback in 2032. All right. Blake Corum and Ricky Pearsall. So in this range, we're talking about 2 first-round picks in terms of NFL draft capital. We're talking about 2 running backs who are in my top 3 in this class. And then we're also talking about AD Mitchell, who I know you are feverishly dying to talk about. So I'll let you lead off with why you are just aggressively attacking AD Mitchell in your rookie drafts.
I love Adonai Mitchell, and I don't know that there is a situation I would have loved more than for him to play for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't care that Michael Pittman's there. They need another wide receiver. I'm not worried. Like, not to say I'm not worried about Josh Downs, but AD Mitchell's going to have a very clearly defined role with a quarterback who if Anthony Richardson can be healthy and the shoulders right and he could stay healthy, is going to push the ball. Like he's going to run the ball, but Anthony Richardson's going to uncork some throws. Man.
Yeah.
And like Pittman is going to live in the, the intermediate area of the field, and he's going to be great, and he's going to be their wide receiver one. But AD Mitchell could kind of cook in year one. I mean, I struggle to quit this type of wide receiver, right? Like I couldn't quit drafting George Pickens. This is the same thing. AD Mitchell's going in the same George Pickens spot. And I know some people aren't the hugest Pickens fans or whatever, but I mean, George Pickens, what he just have 1,100 yards or something like that in his second season. I would be fine. Like I said to you earlier today, I almost traded into the back end of round 1 to take AD Mitchell in a draft.
Sicko behavior.
And luckily he fell to me at 205. At 204, 205, I'm taking him there every single time.
Yeah.
Let somebody else have Michael Penix Jr. Take AD Mitchell instead.
Yeah, let somebody else have Michael Penix Jr. Absolutely. Even in super flex leagues. I think for me,
if you start 3 QBs, let somebody else take Michael Penix Jr.
If only somebody had told Terry Fontenot that. I'm in on Blake Corum still. He is still my running back one in this class. You have to trust talent, right? So the two guys that I want to talk about here, Blake Corum, Ricky Pearsall. And I'm going to talk about them together because you trust the talent, right? You trust your eye on what you saw. And sometimes with fantasy football, especially when you're drafting rookies in the second or third rounds, you have to be willing to just see the path forward. It doesn't have to be laid out clear. If there was a clear path to production, they'd be a first-round rookie pick, right? So you got to just be able to see a realistic path forward. With Blake Corum, you put him on the field, 30% of the touches. Kyren Williams is still the lead guy. But if Williams misses time, Corum has the opportunity. He's got the talent. He's got the frame, he's got the productivity to prove that he can be that guy that, takes over and is, quasi RB1, just like Kyren Williams is when he's toting the rock as the lead back. And then with Ricky Pearsall, right, you might be able to plug him into a projection sheet this season and say, I don't know, like a wide receiver, high-end wide receiver 4, low-end wide receiver 3, that's not super appealing, but you have to think that either Debo or Ayuk are going to be gone next season, right? Or maybe even this season. So you're going to get Ricky Pearsall at 207, where, if you're projecting a year out, he'd probably go in the back end of the first round, right? And so that's the way you have to see value, and that's the way you have to take advantage of value, especially as we get into the late second round. You got to have a little bit of lens for creativity with it.
Yeah, the biggest thing with some of these guys, and especially like with Ricky Pearsall specifically, like follow the money. Like the San Francisco 49ers do not, as much as they would say otherwise, do not have any interest in paying big money to both Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. I think they'd love to trade Deebo Samuel and keep, pay Brandon Ayuk, move off the Deebo money, and slot Slick Rick in there. They took Jacob Cowing, who's not a nobody. I don't know, man. Shanahan with receivers, I kind of give the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, there's a plan here. There's a plan.
Yeah, I kind of give the benefit of the doubt. I definitely don't expect both Deebo and Ayuk there long term. And Pearsall is a super talented player.
So good.
Player that he got the round 1 draft capital. I don't know, like back half of round 2, I think is a steal. And Corum, same thing. It's like every running back misses time. None of these running backs stay healthy for a full season. Love Kyren, I pray that he doesn't, but inevitably he will get banged up and miss time at some point. Like running backs just don't play 17 games. It doesn't happen really.
So we say all season long, get those extra second round picks, get those extra third round picks. And I think this next range, 208 to 301, really emphasizes the type of value you have. I'm calling this the my guy range, right? Because the guys that I put in here, it feels like, they're going to be those big swing guys. And they, somebody is going to go after them. Somebody is going to fall in love with each of these guys in each of your leagues. So Malachi Corley, wide receiver, goes to the New York Football Jets. Jalen Wright goes to the Miami Dolphins, goes from Josh Heupel to Mike McDaniel. Jalen Polk, really nice draft capital to the Pats. Jermaine Burton, who, you have TJ Houshmandzadeh going up announcing the pick, saying that he's mentoring this guy to play for the Bengals. I mean, come on. Yeah. You have Roman Wilson, who my guy, just absolutely plummeting for no reason at all.
Yeah.
And then you have our guy, rookie big board stamp of approval, Ben Sinnott. So that's 208 to 301. There's guys who get me really excited in this range. There's guys who get you excited that are probably different. There's just some really high upside fantasy options in this range.
Yeah, Ben Sinnott. I know that we
Ooh,
all love Ben Sinnott. If you can take Ben Sinnott at 301, I'm okay with taking him half a round earlier, in tight end
yeah.
premium. Like I would put the stamp on taking Ben Sinnott 205, 206 in a tight end premium league. I
Oh,
think he'll be
easily,
that good.
easily.
Roman Wilson, I don't know when people decided sometime over draft weekend that Roman Wilson's a bad football player. It's a terrific landing
So
spot,
good.
honestly. Like,
Folks, there's so many targets there.
and poke holes in whatever you want with the Steelers. Boy, they know one thing, and it's how to scout wide receiver talent.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
yeah, let's give them their flowers there. Jermaine Burton is kind of the wild card. I like the player. I thought he would go later than he did go.
Yep.
But T. Higgins doesn't seem long for the Bengals. Like, it
Yeah.
seems hard to envision them giving him the bag at this point while they still have to extend Jamar.
You might as well
Um,
swing big, right? If you hit on
yeah,
Burton, you're going to hit big. There's no hitting
yeah, it could
small
be
on Burton.
huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, Polk is an interesting one. I think sometimes he'll go a little later than this. The draft cap, somebody's going to catch passes there, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody's going to catch
Somebody's got to
passes
do.
there.
Polk feels like the base hit, right? Like you're just,
Yeah.
yeah, you're choking up. It's 0-2, and you're just gonna slap that outside ball into right field, right? Where
Which is
you know,
worth something.
which is worth something, especially if you're playing in leagues that are best ball or they're deeper lineups. We play in some leagues that are 13, 14 start leagues,
Yeah.
and those guys become even more important in those types of formats.
I will say the homer in me, like I haven't ended up with a whole lot of Malachi Corley yet, but they are going to play Malachi Corley a lot. Like a lot.
Oh man.
So it's a Rodgers pick. As soon as it happened and we started hearing, oh, he's like prime Randall Cobb, I was like, okay, they're gonna play Malachi Corley till they can't play him anymore.
Check down. Yeah, just check down option all day. Audible at
Crosshairs
the
in the
line.
middle of the
Get him the
field,
screen. Get
Yep.
him the screen. That's going to work so well for the first quarter of the season until he drops a ball and never sees it again.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so moving on into the third round here, we're going to start with pick 302, move into the mid-second round. You have Xavier Leggett, Troy Franklin, let me try that one again, Bucky Irving, Jatavian Sanders, Marshawn Lloyd, Javon Baker. I'm calling this range are you kidding me? These guys are still available? Like, I love these guys. This feels like the My Guys round, but at discount. And I'm going off of what I'm seeing out there, folks. Like, I'm really surprised with the type of talent that we have here. Listen, I don't trust Xavier Leggett any more than you do, but we're talking about a first-round draft pick that's going in the third round of rookie leagues. That's the right risk level, right? So I love that. We love Troy Franklin here. He's reunited with his college teammate. And then, I know you love Marshawn Lloyd as well. It's hard to even pick just a couple guys to highlight in this tier.
Yeah, there might not be a player I will end up with more exposure to than Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah. It's
I
not a
know
bad
that
spot, folks.
it's not. People have convinced themselves that it's a bad spot. Josh Jacobs, good player, coming off the worst yards per attempt of his career, and the Packers can get out of that deal next year. Like, yeah, okay, I think there'd be $9 million in dead cap, but they're going to have $70 million in cap space on a good offense with a good youngish quarterback, and some good weapons on the outside too. And Marshawn Lloyd's a good player. Like, landing spot or not, like Marshawn Lloyd post draft is my RB2. I absolutely love him. I love the landing spot. I don't think Josh Jacobs. I think there's a real possibility Josh Jacobs is one and done in Green Bay, and Marshawn Lloyd ends up with that job sooner than later.
And
I don't know if
especially
that's a
in
hot
this
take,
range,
but
yeah, in this range, a guy like Marshawn Lloyd, right? You don't even need to project long-term production. You just need to see an opportunity for him to pop, right? And Lloyd is going to get on the field because he complements Jacobs. He's going to be rotational, and he's somebody who's looked really explosive and efficient with a shared workload his whole career. So you just need Marshawn Lloyd to have one game, in week 3 where he's rotating onto the field, gets 10 touches and goes for 110 yards and a touchdown. And all of a sudden your league mates are going to think he's Devin Achane, and you could flip him for a first round pick next year. And then boom, done. You've returned your value. You've nailed your 304. Like, come on, like, folks, it's there. You have to give it a little bit of creativity, but it's there.
And Leggett, through the whole draft process, I've been like, I will end up with no Xavier Legette. Somebody's gonna like Xavier Legette more than I like Xavier Legette. Even with the landing spot, kind of gross. Somebody else is still gonna like him more. I don't know. Now it feels like everybody kind of hates
I
him.
don't
And
know.
in
This
round
is
3, I'm like,
fair.
oh, okay, I'll roll the dice in round 3. I thought we were gonna be talking about taking this guy a full round earlier, top of round 2. But
Yeah.
yeah, round 3 is the right risk for me.
There's no
Same with
bad picks,
Franklin.
folks,
Like,
just bad value. And at this
yeah,
point, why not? Like, why not go for it with Xavier Legette?
yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's keep moving down the back end of the third round here, and we're gonna, turn the corner into the fourth round as well. And I swear I'm not just saying this. We've got some exciting guys to still talk about in this range. So Luke McCaffrey, 3-0 or goes back end of day 3, just sneaks in there to the Commanders. You've got Ray Davis, one of the most underrated landing spots going to the
Mhm.
Buffalo Bills. Theo Johnson, Darren Waller replacement. Isaac Garundo, Tyrone Tracy Jr. to the New York Giants, and Malik Washington to the Miami Dolphins. I got to tell you, I am going to leave with an irresponsible level of exposure to Malik Washington because I love the guy beforehand. And you put him in the Mike McDaniel offense. It's not even just the Mike McDaniel offense. He's got a clear role in this offense. It's so evident. You could easily see him having 65, 70 targets. And we know Malik Washington can do a lot with those targets. And then Tyrone Tracy Jr., I don't want to be, hyperbolic, but he might be the best running back on the Giants roster by week
He
3.
really might be, and nobody's
Yeah.
talking about it.
Like,
And nobody's talking about it, and never mind the fact that he has a totally different skill set than Devin Singletary.
yeah,
Like,
like
he
a
could
good
be
one,
a
which is very
yeah,
different.
like like an actual,
Like an actual
explosive
skill
skill
set.
set. It is like it sounds like you're kinda, like, touting a line, like, "There's still guys here," but there really is still guys here. Like,
You're
Luke
right.
McCaffrey catches everything. Like, he's gonna be an NFL player. Ray Davis honestly makes me a little worried about James Cook. Like, Ray
Like,
Davis is gonna get touches.
well, I mean, just like look at the depth chart, folks. It's James Cook and then nobody.
Yeah.
So you can leave James Cook with his. That's the other thing. Like, remember, James Cook on the ground, he didn't have that much of a ground market share. Like, he had 40%, which is really good, and then he got the rest through, targets. But you can just plug Ray Davis into 30% on the ground, and then that's it. But
Yeah,
that's a lot of touches for a rookie that you're going to get in the back end of the third round, and who is
definitely.
a more apt goal line runner too. So I think he's going to have 4 or 5 touchdowns on the ground because you've seen they don't want to go to James Cook in the red zone. That's a very consistent thing that Buffalo has told us very clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So when we're looking at the third round, it's worth getting into pretty much any point in the third round, right? And
Mhm.
even leaking over into the fourth. Now, I do think in the fourth round, there's still guys that I like, but I do think that there's a value drop off, right? Where you're not
Yeah.
getting as excited in the way that we're getting excited about, a Malik Washington or a Tyrone Tracy, right? But there's definitely still guys worth going for and where you can see that path forward. So I broke the fourth round down into 2 groups. The first group here is going to be more guys that I'm prioritizing that I would really like to get that I'm seeing going in the fourth round. Then the second group are ones that I just think are worthy dart throws. So starting here at the beginning of the fourth round, Jalen McMillan out of Tampa Bay. This is the biggest shocker for me. I thought he would be going much higher, but he's going in
Mhm.
the fourth round really consistently. Anaya Smith to Philadelphia. Kamani Vidal is the running back that ends up going to the Chargers. Braylon Allen breaking my heart going day 3 to the Jets. And then Audric Estime with a really sneaky, nice landing spot for the Denver Broncos. So, especially when you're thinking about running backs, this is the fourth round. I feel like is especially, we don't want to invest too high in the first or second round on running backs. We start to look at them in the third round, but it feels like the fourth round is where it's like, all right, well, let's just take some shots here.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a couple like Estime and Vidal, good spots. Like those are
Yeah.
good spots, and should absolutely take a dart throw early round 4 on them. Both could emerge with like real roles on those team. If
Yeah.
Javante doesn't, really show something, he could lose market share to Estime. And Vidal is a good player. Like, I really like the player, and he can handle a workload, and he might get a chance to handle a workload. Like we'll see how it works out. I'm, it's a homer take. It's a homer take, but I'm gonna draft Braylon Allen until I can't. Here's
We
why.
love Braylon Allen. We
Here
love
is why.
listen,
I can't quit him. I'm not gonna quit him. All right. I'm just
I
not. I'm
refuse.
not. It's that Nick Saban thing, right? I'm not going to. So quit asking.
So
Like I'm not
quit
gonna stop.
asking me.
I'm not gonna stop drafting Braylon Allen because I think that the Jets are showing you they're telling you what they want to do, right? Like and it's I don't think it's that they're telling you we want to reduce Brees Hall's workload, but I think what they're telling you with the moves they've made on the offensive line, like aside from drafting Olu, who's, I hate to ever say finesse, but a more finesse pass blocking type, but they bring in Tyron Smith, they sign John Simpson, they trade for Morgan Moses. They're clearly like showing their hand in that, okay, we're probably going to do less with, an outside zone type scheme and transition a little bit more to like a man gap kind of power scheme. And I think we'll see a lot more this year where down the stretch last season where Brees got really super involved as a pass catcher. I mean, that's going to happen a lot more from the jump
Mhm.
this year. And I think there's going to be times where we see Brees involved early or Brees involved as a pass catcher early, and then they will try and lean on Braylon Allen late. I don't think Braylon Allen's going to be like a league winner or anything like that, but I think he'll have a real role on the team.
But he could be.
He could be. And in
He could
round
be.
4, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Like,
Right.
what's the worst that could
Use your
happen?
4th round pick.
Yeah,
It's
come on.
and here's the thing too, and then we'll wrap on Braylon Allen. But I loved Braylon Allen pre-draft. I love his tape. Trust your eyes, right? So my adjustment is always that if there's a player taking way lower draft capital than I expected, that's all right. Still draft that player. Trust your analysis. Just take the discount. And with
Yeah.
Braylon Allen, man, 4th round, early 4th round. Listen, it's hard to hit on 4th round picks. Trust your eyes, because if you loved Braylon Allen pre-draft and you don't draft him and he hits, you'll never forgive yourself. You will never forgive yourself.
And it's kind of like what we said about real last thing about Braylon Allen, but same thing that we said with Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. Like running backs don't play the whole season. I love
Yeah,
Brees Hall. He's
yeah,
terrific. He plays on
yeah.
my favorite football team. I hope Brees Hall never misses a game. He's going to though.
Right.
And if he does, and look, in a perfect world, Aaron Rodgers stays upright for the whole season, throws for 1,000,000,000 yards, wins MVP. They're going to run the hell out of the ball. Like that's what they're going to do.
Yep.
He's going to throw the ball around, but they're going to run the ball a ton. So yeah, I'm still taking Braylon out round 4. Not going to stop. Quit asking.
I'm not going to stop. Quit asking. I love Anaya Smith. Anaya Smith. I think he's got such a good role in that Philadelphia offense. He's going to be in the slot. He's physical. He's tough over the middle of the field. He's got great hands. He's going to make the team for special teams. But let's go ahead and let's get into the last tier here, back into the 4th round, and definitely still some guys that I like taking here. And I think this is actually a really important tier to point out, because after this, the guys who are left over are the ones that you should wait and put priority FAAB bids on after the rookie draft, which is still a really important thing to do. Last year, we were really pushing Puka Nacua out to all of our rookie big board members. And I've had a lot of folks tell me that they didn't feel the need to draft him in the first 4 rounds because he wasn't going, but that they did put in priority FAAB bids afterwards. And that's where they got Puka. So that's an important part of the process as well. But the back end of the 4th round tier here, we have Eric All out of Iowa, the tight end who fits in a really nice spot in the Bengals offense. Spencer Rattler falls very far and ends up with the Saints. Rasheen Ali, who is going to be in the Gus Edwards role, I believe, for the Baltimore Ravens. Devontae Walker, who is going to be on the Baltimore Ravens, technically. Jared Wiley, the tight end, who some have called the Travis Kelce replacement. And then Will Shipley, who I think a lot of folks are really high on and will be, I think probably the running back too there behind Saquon Barkley. So, and if you got one dart throw to take out of this group, who are you prioritizing exposure to?
Probably Spencer Rattler still. I wish he would have went earlier. I don't think it's a bad landing spot, mostly because I think Carr's cooked. So, he's got a shot there. I know we like Rattler. He's got the tools. It stinks to me that, something he did as a high school kid, that's crazy to me to hear them on the NFL draft talk about, this reality show he did as a high school kid stuck with him, and, the front offices can't get over it. Like, get over yourself, man.
Seriously.
So I'm rooting for Spencer Rattler. I like taking a shot on Will Shipley. there. I'll let somebody else either, make the Tez Walker pick or, spend the Tez Walker fab. I'll pass on that one. But um, yeah, Spencer Rattler and Shipley are probably the two for me out of this tier.
Nice. Yeah, I like Eric All a ton, especially if you're in tight end premium leagues. He's a super athletic guy. He's got good hands. The Bengals have been looking to get an athletic tight end in there and be successful with that role. So I'm hoping All is the guy. And then I think you can do much worse than taking Rasheen Ali.
Mhm.
Backing up Derrick Henry. The Ravens are going to run the ball no matter what. Derrick Henry misses time. Rasheen Ali's running the ball. Keaton Mitchell's running the ball. They're just not going to stop running
Yeah.
the ball. So he fits that scheme. He's going to have a good offensive line in front of him, opening up space. And, that was always Ali's thing for me. He needed to get to the second level of the field before he looked explosive, but he's going to have time and the ability to get to the second level of the field. So, listen, we could sit here. We could go through a whole list of priority fab bids. I don't think that's we'll be here for twice the time. I could list off a bunch of guys, but I will say, one guy who's not on this list for me that I am still making a priority. All right, I'm going to say two guys. Two guys are Cody Schrader going to San Francisco. I loved Cody Schrader's tape. Listen, with Kyle Shanahan, man, you just got to be the best running back on the field at that moment. And so if
Mhm.
McCaffrey goes down with injury, I think that Schrader is going to have just as much of a chance as Isaac Arando and just as much of a chance as Elijah Mitchell. And then I like Ryan Flournoy, who went to Dallas a ton. I think he's got a role. I think he's got really nice tape. Yes, I was watching Southeast Missouri tape, and I was a big fan of Ryan Flournoy. So those are the two guys who didn't make the list that I would put a priority outside of it. And I don't know if you have one to finish this up.
Yeah, I got a couple. The two that I would probably prioritize most, I'm still in on spending some fab as a priority guy on Jamari Thrash.
Nice.
It's
Yeah,
still a guy that I believe in. I think the landing spot could be worse, and I think he could emerge with a real role there.
I like
And the
that.
other one is Jacob Cowing. I'm a big
Oh,
fan of
yes.
Jacob Cowing. I really am. And not to make like the small guy comp, I don't think he's necessarily Tank Dell, but I think a lot of what Tank Dell did
Ooh.
really well last year, Cowing also does well last year, or well now. I think he separates great. He's got good hands, and I think he could be a really good slot receiver at the NFL level. And again, we talked about if wide receiver clears itself up in San Francisco with one of those guys getting moved, he could find a role there.
Awesome. Well, make sure you're subscribed here. We have a ton of rookie content coming your way. Drop us those questions in the comments here. We'd love to help you in your rookie drafts, but there's no better way to get help on your rookie drafts than to head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard. Get the rookie rankings, get the rookie guide, get the access to the rookie big board Discord, personalized, actionable, insightful advice. Hey, thanks for checking out this video.